feel some air right here.
Real spill. I'm real spill.
Hey, hold on.
Okay, real spill. That's what I'm talking about.
It's called respect.
First of all, Mr. Cushy, I catch a bitch, break a bitch and make her sell her pussy. Nigga, this your girlfriend. If that bitch decided to AWOL right now, your whole world ends. I catch a bitch.
Like Crip Mac, right? Crip Mac blew his hood up, right?
No, this is not a drill. Yeah, this the real deal. Hey, no, this is not a drill. This is the real deal. You see, I kick shit like Messi. The bullshit do not impress me. No hope, partner. Ain't no bitch tell you that I'm her best. But not let your bitch around me. I promise she won't forget me. If the laws come in here looking for pimping, they gon' arrest me. Square shit, not here, bitch.
What's up, everybody? What's going on, man? What's the deal? Yes, sir. I'd like to welcome everybody, man. Welcome everybody. Y'all coming in. Y'all hit the like button. Drop a comment. You know what I'm saying? Get acquainted with each other. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the people show. You know what I'm saying? We encourage the engagement around here. All right, we got a lot of things to talk about today, man. Got a lot of things on the board. You got Ray J coming in hot with his response to Sauce Walka. Sauce Walka, for those of y'all that don't know the story, Sauce Walka and Ray J, Sauce Walka was invited to stream with Dean the Great and AB. Ray J happened to be in the company of AD and Dean the Great during the stream. And it seemed, in the beginning, it seems as if, everything was going pretty cool. Sauce Walka was enjoying himself. He was getting the game. He was giving game. He was soaking the game up. And Ray J was there. And it seems like he was a little uncomfortable around Sauce, in my opinion. Things would happen like Sauce, he left his bag in Sauce's car. Sauce screaming, yo, hey. He's sitting in the other Sprinter van. He's like, man, why is he yelling? He's doing too much. Sauce get to the window, stick the bag in the window and say, hey, buddy, this is yours. I'm giving you your bag back. We take our own charges around here. Or basically saying we carry our own bags. We don't do nobody's bag boy around here, So that was that. Sauce smiled, chucked the deuces, returned his Sprinter, and they, had other things to say. Ray J was, had a stupid, dumb look on his face or whatever. So the next clip we seen, they were at the house. I guess the chat was saying, what's up, Big O? I guess the chat was saying telling Sauce that somebody was sneak dissing. And Sauce did the Sauce Walker. He went up. Who the fuck sneak dissing? I'm with all the bullshit. He approached Ray J. He called him Brandy little brother, a backstage dancing ass nigga. He just, he spoke his mind, spoke how he felt. Sauce was checking Ray J so hard, he ended up bumping him at the end of it. Like, he with all the physical altercations or whatever. And Ray J was just standing there confused, like he didn't know what to say or what to do. And, it was some apologies, it was some understanding gathered, it was some understanding that, happened. Right. Yeah, it was some understanding that, got understood, and Ray J left. And as he was leaving, he was at the door, expressing his grievances about Sauce Walker actions to Dean. And Dean was basically giving him the same rundown, like, yo, don't let the chat come between this shit. They be rage baiting. They do the same thing to me. Don't take no offense to it. It's cool. So, a few weeks later, now Ray J is not streaming with AB and Dean the Great. He's doing his own thing. He's doing, he's in another space, another area. And he has a lot of distance between him and Sauce Walker. And he decides to get on camera and call Sauce Walker a hoe. And the guy that he was on camera with said, the sauce is spoiled. And that was such a bitch ass move. Excuse my language, but to me that was like, why did you wait till you get way away from Sauce to express that thought when you guys were in the same place and he was, there to receive anything that you had to say that you had on your chest? You could have just said it when y'all were together. But you wait until y'all get all this space and distance between y'all and you decides to, hurl out insults. That's not manly to me. But that's what he did. And Sauce has yet to respond. And I don't think Sauce should respond. Because, y'all was just in each other's space, in each other's company. So I don't understand why not, get it off your chest when y'all together. But either way, Ray J did that. And I don't know who the guy is in the clip, but he was kind of stamping or in agreement with Ray J. And maybe I don't think the guy knew who Sauce Walker, who he was even talking about. He was just, I guess trying to keep it going. It's all bullshit to me. And Ray J has a pattern. He got a pattern of having these outbursts, like on the phone, online. Whenever there's like a lot of distance between him and the person he's talking about or talking to, he seemed to have these very outrageous, outlandish outbursts and disrespectful outbursts to the person that, he's talking to on the other end. And he's just a poor representation of a man to me. Because that's not how you're supposed to, deal with your issues. If Ray J is who he say he is, he have enough money to get back in front of Sauce if he wanted to. I just don't think that's I don't think that's what he want to do. And I think he's just on us trying to save face tour. He still feels some kind of way. He know it was embarrassing and he's trying to save face. So every chance he get, he gonna go with his move, which is again embarrassing as hell. But what y'all think, man? Maybe I see it. Maybe I'm seeing this wrong. Maybe I ain't see. Maybe it's something I didn't see. But I did see that bump. When Sauce Walker, when they went in that kitchen and they was at that island and Sauce slapped that table and said he'd crash out for real. He did bump Ray J. Very aggressive. And Ray J sat there with a dumbass look on his face like he didn't want no action. And the next time I saw him after that, he was doing a face-off with Orlando and Orlando slapped them with some money. And it's just Ray J take all kind of disrespect. So I don't know. I don't know if people in his space where in this field, I don't think they take him serious because I wouldn't. So that's why I don't think we gonna hear no response from Sauce. Yeah, I think that's about it on that. I don't think we're gonna hear a response from Sauce at all about that. But for those of y'all that have an opinion and want to come express your opinion, you come up to the link, man. Come join the panel. Because the next thing we're gonna get into this real life unfiltered. What's in the news with Dogface segment where they went over academics versus Charlemagne the God situation, the Carmelo Anthony situation, and a few more things. Maybe even the All-Star JR situation was talked about on this. So we're gonna get into that.
Everybody ain't Dougie Fresh.
I can't beatbox. No, is a hit dog because we all know who he was talking about.
I ain't admitting shit. I'm like Donald Trump.
You know what? You can call me lazy, but you can't call me late. How about that? How about that?
You trying to get personal?
I ain't getting. Personal, they talked about it in the chat. That's what the people said. I ain't say it.
They have had Hennessy. That girl Henny is in the building. What's up, Henny?
What's poppin', everybody?
How you feel?
I'm wonderful. Me personally, I feel like those kids have video because
they even went so far to show a knife that wasn't even a knife. Focus, so it's like 8. I've been using all 8 of my ass on this subject. So everything we have been saying for over a month. We know that there have been the initial statements of the people who witnessed the situation, which is under that tent. The initial statements. They once the police once the right before the trial started, the initial witnesses who wrote out their story to make they went from Carmelo was minding his own business. He was sitting there. He was inviting. He wasn't causing any problem. They went from that to saying that he was the agitator. He was the aggressive one, even though he was sitting down minding his own business. It's suspicious to me at this point. No transcripts of the trial, no discovery. We can't get the police statements.
Well, I have the police report. I've gone over it.
You have the initial witness
statements? I don't have the witness statements, but I have the full police report of everybody that was on the scene that day. But in that police report, one thing that stuck out to me the most was the fact that they interviewed one of the students who told the police Eddie Parra did that was his friend. When you get down to Eddie's statement, so already from right there, Eddie was already separating himself from Carmelo. And it's seen in the paperwork. When it comes down to transcripts, the discovery, that's the reason why. Now, there is an appeal team. It's a 6-person appeal team that is taking his case on, and they're doing it pro bono for him. And all of these people are heavy hitters in different areas in Texas, from civil rights to high profile murder cases.
Yeah, she said some interesting things. She said that he has a new legal team. They are working on his appeal, and it held up some other process that it held up a process. Hold on, let me see if I get it to go again.
Cases, they are together becoming what's being deemed the dream team for Carmelo. It's seen in the paperwork, and when the police report, I've gone over it.
You have the initial witness statements?
I don't have the witness statements, but I have the full police report of everybody that was on the scene that day. But in that police report, one thing that stuck out to me the most was the fact that they interviewed one of the students who told the police that they did not know Carmelo, but that the boy Eddie Parra did that was his friend. When you get down to Eddie's statement, Eddie said he didn't know him. So already from right there, Eddie was already separating himself from Carmelo. All of that stuff. The reason why we're getting the transcripts allegedly is because of the appeal. Now, there is an appeal team. It's a 6-person appeal team that is taking his case on, and they're doing it pro bono for him. And all of these people are heavy hitters in different areas in Texas, from civil rights to high profile murder cases. They are together becoming what's being deemed the dream team for Carmelo. So that's one of the reasons we're not getting that. But there's a lot of controversy with this video that came out too, because people are saying that the video was edited, that this doesn't match this. Some people are saying there's more videos out there that we don't know about. Me personally, I feel like those kids have video, because in this day and age, nothing goes down, whether you be a high school student or an adult, where a person is not going to pull a phone out and start recording. So somebody has video somewhere. There's pictures.
I would think they would need the transcript for the appeal. That's in my opinion.
That have come out of the Jeff Metcalf, the father, with the surviving twin Hunter, and a bunch of the people who came to testify at court in his backyard having a barbecue. So there's that. There's the mother coming out making a statement. There was an email that came out from the cheerleaders, where a cheerleader wrote the coach saying that Hunter, not Austin, which is the one that's deceased, Hunter was aggressive towards a cheerleader, calling her a fat bitch, because they were talking about how the team sucked and how they lost. And so the mother has come out. She spoke and said that basically the twins were like night and day, that Hunter was more likely to be the aggressor and say something nasty to a female over Austin. But there were threats that were allegedly made where Hunter said that his hands were bisexual, basically meaning he would put his hands on a female. There wasn't really anything done as far as repercussions, but the mother said that the coach told the girl that if it was serious, she could take it to the police if she wanted to take it further, because they couldn't do anything, being that this incident didn't happen on school property. They spoke to a history of aggression and triggers of rage and being fearful of what they might do if they find out who reported them to the coach. So there's a lot that's coming out in this whole thing.
Ruler report?
Yeah, I did a little briefing of like going over some of the stuff, a little research. And one of the things that I found like kind of weird about this, besides what the lawyers did or didn't do during the trial, was that, there was some inconsistent statements about what certain eyewitnesses said that they seen when the police interviewed them versus what they said when they got on the stand. And, so I felt like that at that point, man, the lawyers should have did a little more during their cross-examination of those kids, as well as other adult eyewitnesses that, was telling us totally different story. And then again, like Henny said, we know what time it is. It's 2026. So they give us this grainy footage. Basically, that's the high school or the stadium's footage. You know how it is, like a football game or whatever. They got cameras in the stadium to record the game or the track meet. But there's no way that you want to make me believe that none of these kids pulled out a cell phone to get the interaction between Carmelo and this boy, and not try to, record it, because they probably figured the boy was big as hell. So they probably figured he was going to beat Carmelo up anyway.
Right.
This whole situation to me is like a railroad situation. Like everything that could have been against Carmelo, as well as the defense attorney who they kept, was stacked up. I believe that the judges, the prosecutors, and everybody, including the police,
I believe it may have happened so fast, nobody had time to grab the phone. And if they did grab the phone, it was after the initial attack. Unless they already knew about it. Y'all know how we is when we were kids. We know who gonna fight after school. So if it was a situation like that it was already talked about and kids knew that this shit was gonna take place, and they already had their phone, they would have their phones ready already. Now, if it's just something that just happened, then I don't think the phones would have been readily available. I don't think they would have caught it from, beginning from before, then until, and then after that. Wouldn't have caught the whole thing. They'd have caught like the aftermath of it, in my opinion. I don't think they would have had, unless it was something like how we were when we was in school. If somebody was gonna fight, rumors spread, word got around, everybody knew. So bell rung, we all outside, you know, making sure these motherfuckers meet up to fight so we can see.
Was all in cahoots with trying to send this boy down from the beginning. Before the trial even started, he was convicted. You know, so it's a lot. It's a lot of things. I'm pretty sure we'll get into it because there's some things I got some opinions about the the family and stuff as well. Not harsh. I ain't gonna disrespect them, but I got my opinions of how I would have handled it as a father versus some of the stuff that they did. But I'm pretty sure we'll get into that before we done talking about this.
Underdog.
Yes, sir. I believe, man, for real, I believe once that white boy life ended, and I'm not gloating that at all, you know what I mean? Because I feel like if we should prevent what can prevent, especially when it comes to a matter of life and death, right? But I do believe that, we as a people, like we have to be very conscious, and his parents are not conscious enough to know that once something like that takes place, the role as the parents that must be played after that is going to have a great bearing on how he's going to be handled, how your child is going to be handled in this situation. Like those comments they made afterwards, all that was like flawed. Like you stimulated the enemy, and the enemy is already bigger than you. Like whenever a black man goes against a white people, it's always a David and Goliath type situation. You know what I mean? So just like, David had to move strategically in order to get that rock off to pop Goliath in the head. You know what I mean? Same thing with the parents, man. You do not, I mean, I don't care if they was proud of what their son did. That's something that had never been displayed, especially on the social media. So as far as that's concerned, they kind of like sacrificed their child. And what I mean by sacrifice is they created this big fight now that we got. That fight, it had a, don't get me wrong, it's going to be a fight, but it's a good possibility that the fight wouldn't have been as intense as it is now, to where you have to structure a whole new panel for this guy, start banking on an appeal, like he could have actually won that case, and it would have been rare, just like OJ. He won a case that the white people really wanted him on, but OJ wasn't talking about I killed that white lady. He talked that crazy stuff afterwards, which is, as far as I'm concerned, that's okay. Yeah, talk it afterwards, but don't talk it in a way to where you got a position, Yeah, I don't like that they did that for him like that, to him like that. So, and they actually started banking off of it a little bit. And as far as all the attorneys popping up, I don't even like that. Even though they hitters, yeah, they hitters. I don't like it though, because I know for the most part, this is a meal ticket all day. And at the end of the day, they're gonna representing, but they kind of know if they have a chance of getting him off or not. Now, don't get me wrong, they can fight for him. Yeah, let's fight for him. But they know that they have, it's a proclivity for them to either win or lose. They know this as a team. Like, this is all sharp minds. You know what I mean? All sharp lawyers, the top ones. They know, if you got a good chance, but I'll tell you what they will do. They will walk them all the way to the end, all the way to the denial of the appeal. You know what I mean? But they still gonna have their money though. So I don't like that part. I'm not really.
All right, let's get in. Let's break that down. What's going on, Candace? All right, let's get in. Let's break that down. So he don't appreciate the fact that the legal team kind of walked Carmelo into this and kind of left him out to dry. And I don't agree with it neither. I don't agree with how the family carried the situation, but you got to think that these people probably are people that never had trouble with the system themselves. They probably haven't had any personal legal troubles where they had to actually, have some sort of knowledge of how this shit go. You had to give them grace on that. But when it comes to the legal team that he had, you have to be a good judge of character when you're searching for a lawyer. So they kind of let him. It wasn't that they let him down purposely. I'm just gonna say that their ignorance led them, and the people that was around them were able to lead them astray. But even with that being said, people that are close to the situation or able to get close to the situation that just have any kind of genuine spirit about themselves could have, reached out and got in contact with them folks and really, helped them through the situation where Carmelo wouldn't be the victim of, this miscarriage of justice. That's in my opinion. I don't think, it's because there are people in Texas that are permanent people that have enough money to, step away from what they're doing and go put some real genuine eyeballs on this situation and not so it don't get out of hand. It's almost like we allow things to, get way out of control. And then here we are after it didn't got to a point to where it is. Now we want to come through and kind of try to save the day. And that's not the way you're supposed to do things. You're supposed to get in front of it and nip it in the bud. There's no way, there shouldn't have been some quality people, some quality Negroes, with a good, genuine spirit around them to help them navigate this situation. Not the, con artists that they had around them, but just some genuine people that, know right from wrong when it comes to this judicial system.
Excited about this crew that he has. And, they got all these millionaires, all these celebrities contributing all this money to it. Man, that's a paycheck.
There's no I'm gonna tell you how you know whether or not it's true. Number one, none of those celebrities said anything. Number two, it did not go. That would have donated for a second because they came down his parents, right? So number one, they had an advocate that was supposed to be guiding them through this process by the name of Dominique Alexander. Now, Dominique Alexander has a past of his own of domestic violence and child abuse. Set them up with the attorneys that they ended up going into trial with, which were both former prosecutors in Collin County. So it was a setup from the beginning. Once they had this man come into their office, he's the one who set up the press conference. He's the one who put the father out of when the Metcalf dad came. He's the one that put him out. People were saying that they were spending the money to get an Escalade and a this and a that. But the Anthony family lived in an affluent county. Collin County is affluent. They lived in an affluent neighborhood. They had that Escalade that they were driving well before she became a stay-at-home mom for the kids. There's a lot of information that did not get the spotlight. Like for me, they ended up having to move 8 times because of threats. boxed. The father lost his job going on behind this. And these parents, as far as we see, squeaky clean, they're green. When you watch their interviews, they are completely green to the process. I don't even think they got a speeding ticket to take advantage of for a seasoned shyster type of activist person to come into their life and make them think that he's doing something to help them when it's looking like he's in on the play. The parents made a lot of mistakes. Their biggest mistake for me was not doing their own due diligence to research who was coming around them, not understanding the significance of this case, not understanding what the company around them is going to do for the optics.
Respectfully, Henny, you just said these people are green. They don't know no better. They don't know any better. And it's sometimes we have to protect each other. I didn't particularly know exactly who was helping them through that situation, but when situations come up like this, it has to be some genuine spirited person or black person around to get around them and that can fight off the con artists. That can like, oh, well, we can't, well, he gonna peep game. He ain't gonna, but see that, it's like we have to rally around each other, man, and be that protective shield when we know that, the people that's unfamiliar or just don't get it when it comes to the legal system. We have to get around them. We have to be the ones, the weapons that can be used to fight off these con artists that's trying to just get in to get the check and get a piece of the action, because that's what they do. They're just trying to come around and get a piece of the action. When someone that's genuine and good spirited that's actually trying to help, they're not trying to get in on the piece of the money. When even with them saying, hey, they're trying to live off this money or whatever's in the GoFundMe, it don't matter. That should never matter because it's their money. That should never come out to say nothing. None of what they did with that money should ever be a focal point. That money was donated to them. They can use it for whatever they want to use it for. The only reason it comes out is because someone is trying to create or shine some sort of a negative light on the only people that love this boy, his parents. If the county is a predominantly white county, a white boy is stabbed and dies. We know as black people that those parents, they're gonna get threatened because the white community that they're a part of, that they live in, that's just common sense. They never, take the high road. They don't have any understanding or for no accountability. No accountability, none whatsoever. They're not finna be like, oh well, yeah, Austin went over there messing with him, and Hunter is a bad kid. They never gonna say that. There's no way any black person should think that they wouldn't get the threats from that within that community. We should, it just should almost be common sense that they need to relocate. It should be common sense that whatever they do for a living All right, yeah, but I don't think no one should believe that that family wasn't going through any, situations when it comes to a white boy passing away by the hands of a black boy in the white community. That's common sense. That's gonna happen. Them people are gonna have to relocate because it's gonna become too much. They're already the minority of the community. I'm sure the other black families that's over there don't want to get involved because they're outnumbered. Far as the parents, what they do for a living, that's going to definitely be affected because whatever they do, I'm sure the people that's in control of that are of the white, they're the white people. So it was going to be one thing after another. So they would have to, have access to that money and, kind of sustain themselves. And they would have to move out of that community because it wouldn't be wise to stay there. That's just common sense. But it's just like I hear when people say, the rappers and the entertainers, but anybody with any kind of emotion or money and time to take a break should get involved with situations like that. You can't just put it all on, hold everybody accountable, even yourself, even me.
Of their son because they didn't know to do that
Yeah.
because they'd never been in trouble before.
And that's kind of what I was getting at because I don't want to disrespect the family because we all gonna say what we would have done in that situation. And some of us have a little more experience with not necessarily dealing with that type of case, but just with dealing with the law and things like that. So in my mind, I know with it being a racial situation, them being in Texas and all of the things that's against us, we want to make sure, first of all, the people who speaking for us are people who gonna speak for us. Because I mean, this is a national news. This is national news. So anybody that comes out and represents the family, they're gonna dig into that person's background. They're gonna try to find some scrutiny and everything on him. So at the end of the day, you gotta watch who you have speaking for you. So first and foremost, thank you for your, suggestion that you want to help us, but we're gonna go in a different direction. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think the family was so distraught, especially the mom. They were so distraught at the time, man. They just they just needed help. They needed somebody to help them. I'm not sure if other people other than him reached out to him or not, but and then I think I may be wrong about this, but as far as the lawyer, I think the lawyer that they had, he was a good lawyer in their area. But for a case like that, man, a national case like that, you needed somebody that was better equipped to come in there and help defend him. And with that case being so high profile, it wouldn't have been hard for them to get a great lawyer to come in from out of town and fight that case.
I agree.
I mean, so the lawyer. So I think, it doesn't take much research. It doesn't take. You don't have to be a legal expert to understand that the lawyers were woefully unprepared. They were overmatched. And when I say overmatched, I don't know. I don't know, because I'm not saying that the prosecutors were that sharp. So I don't know. So when I say overmatched, that lawyer didn't have the legal experience. He didn't have the expertise. He didn't have the history to fight a case like that.
Without a doubt. That lawyer was out of his league and he just wasn't up for he wasn't up for the task. He just wasn't qualified. And it's hard. It's hard to to gauge something like that when you're in the situation. Like the parents being green, the parents being who they are, the guy that they hire is always going to speak big of himself. He's not going to say, hey, man, I ain't qualified for this. I'm going to refer you to somebody else. No, he wants the job. He's going to take the money. And he's just going to, do his best. And unfortunately, his best wasn't good enough, whether he was trying to throw them under the bus or whether he was working against the family the whole time. That's up for debate. But what we do know is if he did try and give his best just wasn't good enough. And which means he was definitely underqualified attorney. And when you're dealing with people that doesn't understand the legal system, the lawyer is never going to say, hey, I'm not qualified. The lawyer is always going to take the money.
That case wasn't just about who stabbed who. That case turned into something bigger. It turned into an Emmett Till type situation in reverse. It went from it's not just about the legal consequence. It's about the social consequence, the social influences that went into place. When you consider Collin County being a predominantly white county, I think I pulled up some numbers. Collin County is 50% white. Collin County is one of the most progressive. It is one of I think it's the third richest county in the state of Texas. The average age of people who live in Collin County, the average 46 or younger. So that's not old money. Those are young, progressive-minded human beings who are all tilted heavily towards the Republican side of things. And they also, I think it's 50% white. I think it's a combination of another 25% of Asians and Hispanics, who are also, according to the Census Bureau, classified as white as well, right? Because Hispanics and Asians are officially listed as white in this country, right? The legal team was unprepared. I'm going to say they were unprepared. I'm going to say they were overmatched, because I'm not going to just say that they were part of the conspiracy, right? I'm going to try to be as respectful as I possibly can, but they were certainly ill prepared. They were not qualified to take on a case like that. They were not. Bro, it is a clear case of ineffective and insistence of counsel, bro. When you look at the fact that they never called Carmelo Anthony to the stand, when you look at the case that they never tried to get the other twin, the other Metcalf boy, to the stand, when you look at the fact they never challenged, according to what we know, because we haven't seen the court transcripts because they have not been released to the public, right? They never challenged things that should have been elementary. I'm not a lawyer. And when I'm hearing happen in the courtroom, it is not, with me not being a lawyer, but a lot of experience for the court system, nigga. They held that case, the shit practice, not calling him to the stand. You're trying to put on a self-defense case. Who better to tell or to express what he was feeling, what he saw, what he interpreted to the case?
That's not always true. sometimes you don't get called to the stand because of what you said before or what statement you may have made prior to that may hurt you, that may give an inaccurate depiction of what you're trying to convey in the moment. Another thing is he may not, it's his choice. That's what they're not telling you. It's Carmelo's choice. Carmelo, the lawyer could say, hey, I want you to get on the stand. Get on the stand. I think it's in your best interest to get on the stand. And Carmelo could just be like, I ain't getting on the stand. I don't care. He worked for Carmelo. Carmelo don't work for him. So it could possibly have been a suggestion, and Carmelo just decided against it. Not saying I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I'm just giving y'all the possibilities, the options that were available, and the reasons why he may have chose not to get on the stand. He could have been the type of, mild-mannered kid, soft-spoken, and he may have tried to question him as if he was the prosecutor cross-examining him. And he just didn't like how, Carmelo answered questions. There's a lot of reasons the defendant won't get called to the stand. Whether we like those reasons or not is a whole nother thing. Me personally, if I didn't do it, I'm getting on the stand because the truth just don't change. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't bother me one way or another. There's no question the prosecution could ask me to trip me up because I'm only telling the truth. And as long as I stick to the truth, then there's no way for you to trip me up. I was asked the question. They asked me, well, what were you doing? I was watching. I was watching the Parkers, and well, what happened on the episode? Okay, well, this is what happened. Professor Ogleby and Nikki Parker was doing and shit, and the lady was like, well, isn't that a rerun? I said, yeah, they're all reruns. But one thing about it, I wouldn't remember this episode so good if it didn't happen this soon or if I didn't just see it. So it was one of those things that she was trying to trip me up on, but you can't trip me up if I'm telling the truth. And I think that was me at 21. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing at 21. Like, I knew what I was doing and who I was at 21. You talking about a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, a 17-year-old high school kid. He's trying to figure out who he is. They do have the ability. They can trip him up. They can, trap him in a corner on cross-examination. There's a lot of possibilities. If it going the wrong way, if he catch the stand. So I like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not his lawyer. I wasn't there. I'm just giving y'all further analogies on or reasons as to why he wouldn't get on the stand. It's not always the lawyer not putting him on the stand. The lawyer could have asked him or suggested it, and Carmelo could have just said, no, I don't want to get on the stand. It could have just been simple as that. In my opinion, with the story the way I heard it, I wouldn't have needed him to get on the stand. you got too much evidence that shows exactly what happened for him to have to get on the stand. It would have been a plus, it would have been a great addition, but it wouldn't have really been all that necessary if you utilize all the tools that you have, in your favor. And that's just in my opinion. And someone with the knowledge that I have about the system, had it been anywhere close to that situation, would have known that, this trial lawyer strategy isn't what I think it should be. And I would have advised them, hey, get rid of that motherfucker. Y'all need somebody else. And, but sometimes even with that being said, to the parents might, not want to go through it because it's a highly stressful situation that they're dealing with. And sometimes people of that nature, they just want it to be over. They're just going to do something and hope it works out for the best. And it's sad to say, but, everybody can't handle the same pressures of everyone else. And that's an intense, high pressure situation. And we can't ask them green folks that never been through no shit like this to kind of handle it like no certified veteran. But there should have been certified veterans surrounding them, helping them, guide them through this situation, because I think they were just overwhelmed. You already dealing with being threatened by your neighbors. You're already losing your job. It's a highly stressful situation that they're dealing with. And when you combine all of it in one, you can kind of imagine the pressure that they was dealing with during the course of this situation. So I don't want to get, too tough on the parents. But everybody got to hold some accountability somewhere, because this shit was mismanaged and mishandled all across the board, in my opinion. In my opinion, that trial should have had a change of venue in the front of the jump. That trial was, but we've seen before in cases where it was overly against a defendant where they moved the counties. I think George Zimmerman was one of them where they moved from one county to another county. There's cases where they moved the trial to a different county. We have examples of that. I can't think of one right now in this moment, but I do know that there are and there were trials that were taking place outside of the county that the incident happened in. And that's off the rip. That's off the dribble. That's not getting an appeal, getting convicted, going for an appeal, getting granted a new trial, and then requesting a change of venue. It was the request for change of venue happened the very instance the situation came about. So I think, I really hate that these people didn't have anybody around them that really cared about them or what they was going through. I really hate that for them, because that's a person that doesn't have a law degree. That would be the first thing they ask. Like, it don't take a law degree to ask some of these common sense questions or some of these common sense theories or suggestions. The shit common sense. You in a predominantly white county, black kid, unalive white kid, why they having a trial here? Isn't there another more diverse county that they can move this trial to, where he can have at least a slim chance to win? Yeah, it just seemed like everybody dropped the ball, or the prosecution just had control over everything, had the ball. The prosecution held the ball the whole time. They just wasn't they there. It doesn't even seem like, yeah, it don't seem like a real fight was put up on this on Carmelo behalf. There's no way this isn't self-defense. Just if you write my analogy is, if you write it down on paper, remove the color aspect, and just have someone read it, they're gonna say that that's a clear-cut case, self-defense. I don't care who you sit that paper in front of. You write the situation down from beginning to end, remove color. Whoever reads that gonna say, hey, this is self-defense. When you leave out the verdict, don't put the verdict in. Just write the situation down and leave out the color. And whoever reads that paper is gonna say, this is self-defense. It's cut and dry self-defense. But you got a lot of people that, once people can identify who's who and who did what and what ethnic background they are or what ethnicity they are, now here comes the stereotypes. Here comes the prejudice. Now you start to add these things in that makes it unfair. So this guy says the best way to beat the case is not to catch the case. That's so fucked up because it's some truth in that. There's some truth in that statement, but because, and I'm gonna tell you why it's true. It's truth in that statement because there's no equality in the justice system when it comes to black people. There's no equality in the justice system when it comes to black people. That's just something you have to know. You have to understand and you have to acknowledge. But just because there's no equality doesn't mean what this should teach people is not only know the law at the basic level, but if you are knowledgeable, if you do have any good information to give or lend, get involved. Get involved with this whole situation so it doesn't end in the fashion it ended in. Just get involved. You don't have to spend no money to give some information. It's free to lend some great advice. Good advice is free. Be not a shoulder to cry on, but be an ear to listen and speak with wisdom. We have to get out of the save yourself mentality when it comes to our people, or we can't not save yourself, but we gotta get out of get rid of the idea that people already know or people should know, or it's their fault because they don't know. You got to get out of it. We're doing ourselves a terrible disservice because no matter how much you say or how much you think you know better, as long as they're able to get away with this type of stuff, you're still subject to the injustices that's presented. No matter what, you still subjected to the injustices of the system. Just because you know better doesn't mean don't reach out and be a helping hand or some good advice to a person that don't know. Don't leave your people hanging. Don't let their lack of knowledge be the reason that you turn your nose up at them, or you don't reach your hand out, or you don't reach out to them to be of assistance. Let their lack of knowledge be the reason you want to help. Don't wait till it all go bad, and now we sitting here having these podcasts and these discussions about what somebody else did wrong when we all had the opportunity to get in front of this shit and we didn't. And I don't know, I can't speak for nobody, but I don't think nobody thought that this would be the outcome. Nobody in their right mind felt like that boy was going to get convicted of a homicide based on the events that took place, based on him sitting under a tent and someone coming over there to bother him and then attacked him and he defended himself. Nobody thought that was going to be the outcome. We got to do each other better than that. We got to step in when it counts. We can't wait till after the fact where we feel guilty and we can't throw the responsibility on everybody else when you very well enough, capable enough to handle the responsibility yourself. Stop going against your people in front of, like when your mama used to say, what go on in this house, stay in this house. What go on with us need to stay within us. You should never run out here and disrespect your people to impress another people that don't care about you. You're just giving them reason to do what to mishandle us and mistreat us. You're giving them reason to further encourage the fact that they shouldn't give a fuck about us or they shouldn't care about us. Don't give them reason. Don't be the excuse giver to say so they can hang on to, because they like to say, oh, well, they hurt each other. So what? Y'all hurt each other too. Y'all may hurt each other at a more rapid pace than us, but the news channels aren't putting y'all on the news and, you know, making y'all the main fear tactic, fear poster child. Let's just stop giving them the reason and start being the reason that we get in front of situations, and stop throwing each other under the bus and blaming, pointing the fingers when you're very well capable of getting in front of the situation yourself. If you got one group of black people over here feel that it's unfair and you feel the opposite, don't go against them. Don't challenge them. Listen to understand. And as long as you understand, you'll be able to have the ability to not be offended and go against it. No matter what dollar amount you have in the bank, them people still look at you just like the poor people. That's your same background. It's your same color. They only tolerate you because you have something that that gives you access to them. But trust and believe, they don't want you around. Let's stop doing all the damage to each other. Socially, verbally, violently, whatever. It's whatever we do to each other is our business. Just not condemn each other in front of another group that already looked down on us. Because they are making excuses for each other every day. And they trying to find as much dirt on us as they can to justify doing us and treating us the way that they treat us. They own their job. We got to get on ours. And y'all know the deal, man. It's the real spill, man. I'm finna get out of here. I ain't come to take up no whole bunch of time, man. Y'all catch this video. You know, do your part. Like, share, subscribe to the content. Be on the lookout. Click the bell so you can be on the lookout for the next time I drop.
It's not a drill. Yeah, this the real deal. Hey, no, this is not a drill. This is the real deal. You see, I kick shit like Messi. The bullshit do not impress me. No hope, partner. Ain't no bitch tell you that I'm her bestie. Better not let your bitch around me. I promise she won't forget me. If the laws come in here looking for pimping, they gon' arrest me. Square shit, not here, bitch.